a ongoing project. So whatever findings I have till now, I'll be discussing on the basis of that. And as the time period is limited, so I'll definitely try to discuss it very briefly. So first of all, India-Russia relationship is not something new. It is a very old relationship. It started from during the Soviet period, and this genesis of this relationship is based on the mutual trust and understanding. It will be better if I'll share my PPT, then it will be better to understand. Now, the thing is, their relationship, the Indo-Russian relationship, has turned to a new point with the signing of declaration on the India-Russia strategic partnership in the year 2000. After 10 years, they have promoted their relationship to a new level through the Special and Privileged Strategic Partnership in 2010. Now, in India-Russia strategic partnership, there are 5 different key factors or the key aspects. One is defense, another one is the energy cooperation, economic trade, politics, and space cooperation. Now, among all of these key aspects, defense is the Eurasian paper. It is the most significant aspect. At first, it was started with a simple buyer-seller relationship, but with the growing ages, both the countries, they have initiated several new chapters in their relationship, in their particularly defense relationship, through joint military cooperation, joint research projects, advanced advanced research development, and the establishment of state-of-the-art military platform, etc. Now, in the energy sector, they are cooperating in the Kudankulam nuclear power project, as well as they have several economic trade relations. I'll not go into the detail of the key aspects. I'll come directly to the conundrums or the reasons of stagnation of India-Russia relationship, and my focus will be the China factor. Now, despite the huge number of cooperation processes, there are several partnering factors which are emerging as an apple of discord in this particular area. And among all these factors, there are Islamabad factor, there is India's growing military India's growing in defense interest towards US, there is Israel, there is France, and the China factor. So in case of Islamabad, Russia's growing interest towards Pakistan, particularly in the defense sector, is a source of concern for India, because India and Pakistan, they don't share a kind of a friendly relation because of some bilateral issues. So it is a concern for India. Now coming to the US factor, India's growing interest towards US, especially in the defense sector, is a concern for Russia. And in 2016, US has declared India as the major defense partner. So as Russia has certain bilateral issues or complications with US, so it's a concern for Russia. Now there is Israel, because from Israel, India is right now importing certain amount of defense equipment, as well as there is Japan. Now, particularly focusing on the present situation, China factor is the most prominent factor. Now coming to China, India, Russia, and China ties are have been improved over the last few decades. And not only in the defense sector, in the energy sector as well, because in the energy sector, in 2014, when Russia was facing the Western sanction after the Ukrainian crisis, at that very particular time, China strengthened its relationship with Russia by signing the very 40-year-old gas agreement deal between the Gazprom and China National Petroleum Corporation. In the economic sector, China is the biggest trade investors and of Russia, and particularly in the Asian region. And in the defense sector, China and Russia's relationship turns to a new direction in 2018 during the Vostok, which is known as Vostok 2018. Because earlier in the Vostok Russia strategic exercises, this is only limited to the Collective Security Treaty Organization, the countries who are in the Collective Security Treaty Organization or Russia's closest ally. They were the only major members of that. But in 2018, we can see that more than 3,000 Chinese troops, they took part in this exercise, Vostok 2018, in the Eastern Siberia. So that's become a major concern for India, and because of that, Russia-China axis is a crucial factor for India. Now, amid all this situation, the very recent 2020 Indo-China border crisis make the situation more complicated. Now, coming to the factor that after the Sino-Indian crisis, what will be Russia's stand? The major significant questions of my topic. It's quite natural that this Galwan Valley incident makes Russia's situation a very uncomfortable, because India and China both are the very significant strategic partners for Russia, particularly in the Asian region. So Russia is rationally trying to taking a very neutral position and with a very cautious approach, which is very realistic, I believe. And because of that, if we focus very deeply, then we can see that at first there was no direct reaction or direct comment from the Russian part. But after the 15th June incident, which the situation became much more worrisome, and it was a kind of a direct clash between India and China, Russia expressed its view, and within 3 days there was in Russia, India, and China trilateral video conference. Although in the conference there was no direct discussion regarding this border crisis between India and China, but after the conference, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, he made it visibly clear that Russia will not intervene, or Russia has no intention to intervene in the bilateral conflict between India and China. And at the same time, Russia expects that both of its strategic partners, they will resolve their disputes through a peaceful manner, through bilateral discussion. And at the same time, he expressed that Russia thinks that India and China, they don't need a third party to intervene to resolve their disputes.
Can you sum up your findings, Manideepa?
Yes, sir. So now the major concern is there any chance that this particular Sino-Indian crisis will impact the India-Russia strategic relationship in future? Based on my findings, I don't think it will create any impact in the India-Russia strategic partnership. And there are significant reasons behind that. Number one is the significance of Eurasian politics, which is a significant determinant of international politics right now. And Russia's desire to build a developed and peaceful Eurasian region can only be fulfilled with the help and cooperation of India. Second factor is the defense factor. Although there is the existence of US, there is the existence of Israel and France and Japan, but at the same time, till now, Russia is holding a very significant position in the India's defense sector. The third point is the existence of BRICS and SCO. BRICS can be a major challenge in future for the Western nations, and for the successful functioning of BRICS and development of BRICS, Russia needs and cooperation and help from India as well as from China. So I personally believe whatever conundrums or whatever drawbacks or conflict they have, they should solve it rationally. And at the same time, we have cultural connections, we have same kind of like-mindedness, but in the work of United Nations or in the work functioning of United Nations, we have certain kind of similar ideologies. So based on this factor, I believe that in future as well, both India and Russia, they will nurture their ties. That's all. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, sir.
Share your screen.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Manideepa. I am having a very bad internet at my end, which is very unusual, but I think we'll have to cope with that. But I think it will improve as we move ahead. So most of the lecture I was not able to hear, but may I now invite May I now invite this next speaker? I can't see the name here.
Yes, speakers are Sohini Roy.
Yeah, Sohini Roy. Sorry. There is some problem at my end. So Niro, you can start your time starts now.
Hello, am I visible? Am I audible?
Audible,
You
not
are
visible.
audible. Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon to everybody. I'm very thankful to Eurasian Foundation for giving me this opportunity to present this paper.
Request to just start your video, please.
So, actually, I am having a video problem. I am not understanding.
Okay, okay.
I'm sorry. Okay. Um, so my paper is titled "Dealing with China's Rise in Eurasia: A Case for Russia-India Collaboration to Chart Out a Revamped Post-Pandemic Multilateralism in the Region." Now, before moving on to Eurasia or multilateralism per se, it is important to put the India-Russia duo into the context of the general conditions of international relations that is now hit by an exigency of a raging pandemic. The international relations has long been in flux, and older frameworks and preceding hegemonies have been on the move, and it has been replaced, and it is in the process of being replaced by newer ones. Globalization that was once fostering under the leadership of the lonely superpower, the so-called lonely superpower, is today facing a confrontation from economic nationalism. Populist leaders are on the rise, and they have been able to undo, at least in West Europe, quite to some extent, to the fruits of interdependence. Westphalian sovereignty is seeing a reassertion, and fleeting geopolitical trend lines has caused a world disorder. Non-traditional security threats are on the rise, and global governance, riding on its outdated UN multilateral machineries, has registered failures to tackle with issues like terrorism, poverty, trafficking, etc. Now, another thing that has worried the world order is China's rise. Often disruptive and aggressive and assertive in its attempts, it has jumped in often to fill the vacuum that has been created by USA, that is busy withdrawing. Under such conditions, the advent of the pandemic has spelled a disaster. The multilateral platforms and the states in general have registered failures to contain the virus. This has shown the deep-rooted malaise in the globalist purpose and is out in the open, calling for a serious reimagination of the multilateralist aya on principles of equity, responsiveness, and representation that truly embodies the multipolar reality of our times. Now, it is in this context that it's important to bring in India-Russia relations that actually completes 20 years of his strategic partnership. This gives us an opportunity to look back in deep satisfaction about the state of relations between the two countries. The all-weather friendship has paid off well. There has been successful collaboration between the two countries in every area of diplomatic interactions. Also, Russia has been a source of state-of-art defense instruments to India. Unflinching support of Russia on international platforms for India has also been there. Both the countries share common viewpoints about democratization of international relations and global governance. Trade between the two states have been flourishing and diversifying. Collaborations about developing infrastructure and knowledge-based industries, energy in the energy sector as well, has been par excellence. Also, the ability to navigate between the geopolitical issues which are contentious enough has added dimension to this particular relationship. However, despite all these reasons to celebrate, it is important to note that Russia and India relations has been marred by a lack of strategic innovation. A breakthrough is missing, and the pandemic is here. So it is important that a new strategic background is provided to this particular relation. Now, it is here that Eurasia comes into the picture. Eurasia's geostrategic worth is something that doesn't require repetition. It is located at the trunnions of the world's greatest civilizations and remains very geopolitically charged, especially with a missing traditional chaperone that Soviet Union was. It is now a hotbed of great power contestation, an arena of incomplete hegemony. The region's ownership of scarce hydrocarbons has made the power clash between states very much visible, and there is a Taliban resurgent Afghanistan very close. Therefore, it can be said to be as an arena of new great game. Though this conceptual metaphor has been hotly debated by academicians, there can be no denying about the fact that contestation in the region is very much seen. Now, there is a India-Russia and China triangle in this particular geopolitical theater. Eurasia is central to all these three states. While Russia considers this region as its strategic backyard, China has found value in the region's stability, its ownership of the hydrocarbons and the markets, of course, which China sees as something from which it could gain, both geopolitically and geoeconomically. India, on the other hand, finds it very crucial. Its claim finds it very crucial with respect to its claim as a great power. The security imperatives in Jammu and Kashmir, Afghanistan, and of course its want for energy resources. While China and Russia has been capable of developing a host of multilateral institutions for statist cooperation and collectively manage the security affairs of the region, both traditional and non-traditional, and drawing on their common values relating to Westphalian sovereignty, regime security, and non-interference that stands in opposition to the Western belief systems of democracy and human rights, India's politico-strategic, cultural, and socio-economic clout in the region has been limited, despite the fact that it has a proactive Connect Central Asia policy in place as against the Lucknow policy, which was not really able to achieve its creative capacity. However, it must be understood that Russia's primacy in the region.
May I request the speaker to conclude?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. However, Russia's Eurasian, though the Russian power in Eurasia is not completely under question, the BRI and the SCO has stoked off anxiety. The rhetoric, though there is a rhetoric of cooperation with China, but there is a tension, and the competition between Russia and China is very much seen. In this particular situation, Russia can actually rope India in, as it has in SCO, and balance China in that particular theater. And multilateralism in this particular region can be revamped by making it more democratized, representative, and equity and responsiveness has to be there, because these are the absence of these values has decimated.
You'll have to finish now because we are running short of time. We started late also. Thank you for giving a brief idea about how China's rise in Eurasia is, affecting the entire region in the post-pandemic. And we expect you to speak if there are any questions after this. May I now invite Mr. Sergei Rabe, Research Fellow, Center for Indian Studies, Institute of Oriental Studies, Russian Academy of Sciences, Moscow, Russia. As the rules are, you'll have 10 minutes. I'll give you a warning at around 8 minutes. Mr. Rabe.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, dear honorable participants and guests of the conference, dear organizers. I would like to focus my speech on the topic of participation of India in the Russian upstream projects in the Arctic region. I would like to start with the fact that the Arctic region is definitely a strategic priority of countries. For India as a rising global power, it is geopolitical. It's a question of geopolitical interest and prestige in the international arena. For Russia, it's also to extraction of hydrocarbons in the region. In this aspect, India and Russia are actually natural partners. On the one hand, it has been stated on the top level that Russia aims to triple the volumes of cargo transported through the Northern Sea route, and in India, it's also a political decree to triple the share of natural gas in the energy mix. But so far what we see, and that's regrettable to state, that the level of cooperation is lagging behind the possible levels. The first, well, I will focus primarily on gas rather than oil, because for oil, I would make a small remark that extraction of oil in the Arctic region is relatively more expensive than in the southern parts, and gas is relatively cheaper. On the one hand, on the other hand, the reserves and deposits of natural gas in the Arctic are relatively higher than oil. Besides, for oil extraction, Russia has most of necessary infrastructure and experience to take care of it on its own. But for gas exports, there has to be massive investments and massive infrastructure to be constructed, and this is achievable only in cooperation with other international players. The first large project was launched by, and it's now fully functional, operating. It was launched several years ago by Russian Novatek company in a consortium with the French Total and two Chinese companies with CNPC and Silk Road Foundation, which combined have 30% share in the project. It would be interesting to highlight that India is already importing LNG from this source, but does it indirectly via Gazprom, who buys LNG from Yamal and then resells it to India. You can imagine that from the economic point of view, it's not so viable, but from the question of national prestige, it is. Because India is not part of the project. While being part of the project, companies receive resources at non-market prices. These prices are, of course, not disclosed, but we can imagine that the long route, which is implemented now, is not so lucrative. Another project also being now constructed by Novatek in a consortium is Arctic LNG 2, and it's also regrettable to state that India is not part of the project, while the French company is part, the Chinese company is part, and even the Japanese Mitsui and Chogmei corporations have 10% share in the project. On the oil and gas market, it's common to say that the Japanese don't step into non-viable projects. That's a proof of the fact that development of gas and particularly LNG exports from the Arctic region have bright future, but so far without India's presence in these projects. But in the long run, there is much to extract from Arctic region, and there are multiple projects under discussion right now. There are several more projects being planned by Novatek, and there are talks with the Indian companies about participation. Would be nice to see a more proactive position from the side of India. in these projects. These are Arctic LNG 1 and 3. Besides, very recent development is the so-called Vostok Oil project being implemented by Russian Rosneft, which the project initially was focused only on oil, but Rosneft gained several deposits for exploration of natural gas and is planning to arrange LNG exports following the model of Novatek. It would be very logical to see a partnership between Indian companies and Rosneft in this project because they have a big history of bilateral cooperation. As we all know, there are many ongoing projects even in the downstream in India where Rosneft takes place. So the connection is quite tight, and it would be logical to see India as part of the Vostok LNG. For Russia, of course, it's beneficial. It would be beneficial to diversify the number of investors and to attract more international investments into the Arctic region. Besides, it is also necessary, in my opinion, to see India there because Indian presence will balance the influence of China. In this connection, coming back to where I started from, Russia and India are natural partners, and both should take steps to enhance cooperation in upstream projects in the Arctic. It's a question of geopolitics and geoeconomics, both. Thank you for your attention. I tried to be brief.
Amitabh sir, I think he has some technical issues. I think so. Thank you so much for your inciting comments, and really we are grateful for you to listen your thoughts and all. We'll summarize these things. And thank you so much. Next speaker is Bakri Muduli. He is the research scholar for Center for Russian and Central Asian Studies, School of International Studies, JNU. He will speak on Indo-Russian strategic cooperation from partnership to progress. Over to you, Bapi. Sir, actually, I have already invited to Bapi Mudli to speak, sir. Hello.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So, I'll be speaking on Indo-Russia strategic cooperation from partnership to progress. So, over 7 decades of diplomatic relations between India and Russia, that is not only significant but historical milestone in international politics. It signifies and also proves the mutual trust between these two great powers. The relationship between the two countries covers all areas of cooperation and helps to promote national interest of both the countries. And at the same time, it also contributes to the establishment of a more peaceful and just world order. Our bilateral relations are based on a deep mutual understanding and respect similar priorities also in economic and social development. Ensuring peace and security and shaping a global architecture that reflects cultural and civilization diversity and strengthening unity of humankind form the core part of our foreign policy. So India and Russia relations have stood the test of time and have been immune to external influences. India's relation with the former Soviet Union and subsequently with Russia, the sole successor of Soviet Union, have been rightly acknowledged by both the governments, and most analysts and experts also say that it represents the most resilient relationship since India's independence. So intergovernmental relations have steadily been strengthened and evolved into a strategic partnership. Indo-Russian relations enjoyed a strong strategic, military, economic, and diplomatic relationship. After the collapse of USSR, Russia inherited the close relationship with India, even as India improved its relationship with the West after the end of the Cold War. Relationship with India is a key pillar to India's foreign policy. India and Russia ties have acquired a qualitative new character with enhanced level of cooperation in almost all areas of the bilateral relationship, including political, security, trade and economy, defense, science and technology, so on and so forth. So the first major political initiative since the collapse of Soviet Union between India and Russia began with the strategic partnership known as Delhi Declaration in 2000. It was the continuous, it was not new, it was the continuation of the earlier treaties from 1971, that is Treaty of Friendship to Cooperation, Treaty and Friendship and Cooperation to the Moscow Declaration 1994. So then in the latter period, the relations between India and Russia have been elevated to privileged strategic partnership in 2010 and special privileged strategic partnership in 2016 at the Goa Summit, BRICS Summit. So the Delhi Declaration, this beginning of this strategic partnership means the basic ethos in guiding the strategic partnership ahead. India and Russia relations are embedded in history of trust, mutual compatibility and interest that makes it difficult to find parallels in bilateral relations. So this strategic partnership between India and Russia gives advantage to both the nations. This calculation is not based on the unqualified or speculative projections, but it is the empirical. It is based on empirically verified conclusions. In concrete terms, the strategic edge that India gets from its relationship with Russia, and so also Russia gets from India, are in areas that are critical to Indian interests, like Kashmir, be it Kashmir issue or energy security and relations with China and Central Asia. Everyone knows that these relations have always been, even in the most complicated times, characterized by the spirit of pure friendship. So the 7 decades, over 7 decades of this diplomatic relations is not only a cause for celebration, but also an occasion for a serious discussion about how relations could develop between our two countries in the upcoming time. So the Indo-Russian strategic partners have been built on several major components. The productive bilateral cooperation in areas of defense, energy, nuclear, science and technology, economy. So this forms pillars of our main pillars of our Indo-Russian strategic partnership. Apart from this, there are also areas like areas of cooperation like space, trade and space, culture, education, political ties, global or regional issues, where both countries they always try to strengthen the relationship. Indo-Russian relationship is one of the oldest and enduring strategic partnership in the contemporary world, and the partnership also enriches our relation in many fields. So coming to defense, which is one of the major pillars of our partnership. So it's an important pillar of the Indo-Russian strategic partnership, and Russia had, we can say, monopolized the Indian defense sector with 70% of our country's military need imported from Russia. The defense cooperation has gone from like consumer supply relation to a joint venture, joint project or joint collaboration. India and Russia have joint military programs like you can say BrahMos, 5th generation fighter aircraft, Sukhoi, came up to 26 helicopter, Su-30 aircraft, T-90 tanks. So India and Russia joint venture agreement in December 2015 to manufacture Russian Kamov helicopters. In India is the first Make in India project in the defense sector. Also in 2018, India inked the historic agreement with Russia to procure S-400 missile of worth $5.43 billion US, though it has received critical reactions from US and other countries, but this is a historic milestone or historic agreement in this sector. The importance of Russia being willing to share advanced technology and engage in joint production is widely acknowledged, and in India, despite concerns about Russian supply of spare parts for existing arms and delays in supply, a large number of Russian defense industry are also dependent on Indian orders to keep their operations running, and since India has been, since 2007, India has been the largest importer of arms. In the period between 2011 to I think 2016, India has attracted almost 40% of the total Russian arms exports, with China being the distant second, stood at 11%. So the opening of the defense sector to another point is the opening of defense sector to 100% FDI, foreign direct investment, presents both an opportunity and challenge for Russia, where it would be free to invest in India's lucrative arms sector while having to compete with other players from across the world. And also India gained a membership in MTCR, that is Missile Technology Control Regime, a major international anti-proliferation group where Russia is a key member. This helps further expanding India's space and missile collaboration with Russia. Recently, Russia's official offered its latest nuclear aircraft, that is Strom, to India. That's a major development in this sector. So coming to energy, the power industry has been the most promising field in the bilateral strategic partnership with Russia's collaboration. When India was badly short of energy after gaining independence in 1947, Soviet experts helped India not only to prospect for drilled wells to produce more oil, but also built the Indian power industry infrastructure. Oil refineries were constructed during that time in Bihar, Jharkhand, Gujarat, UP. So as a result, the Soviet Union became India's number one supplier of crude oil, and India became the biggest trade partner among the developing nations during that time. So the need of the energy security re-emerged from the breakup of the Soviet Union, which was India's. Oh, so thank you. So I see the nuclear energy and trade and economy. So these are forms the major pillar of our partnership. So I due to the sort of the paucity of time, so I want to conclude this session. So while concluding, I can say, so there is major potentiality between India and Russia to take this relationship forward. So either we can, the India and Russia have, though they have challenges, but they have that potentiality to convert those challenges into opportunities. And in this crucial time where the global order is going through numerous complexities, India and Russia, the countries which are challenging the unipolar order and the current geopolitical situation are giving India and Russia a very good opportunity to take their relationship forward. Thank you.
Amitabh sir. Hello. Amitabh sir. Actually, he has some technical issues. Disconnecting, I think, is not audible. Thank you so much, Vapi, highlighting some pillars of this Indo-Russian strategic partnership, particularly from the energy sector to defense and all this. You are highlighting the issue. We will discuss mostly at the time of the questionnaire. Now I request Ms. Shweta Basu to present her paper, Strategic Dynamism in India-Russia Relations, Emerging Trends of Multilateral Reciprocity. Shweta Basu is a research scholar, Pondicherry Central University, India. My sincere request, when you are speaking, please on your video, otherwise it's very unprofessional. Yes.
Am I audible?
Yes, please.
Very good evening to one and all present here. At the very outset, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the organizers, and I would like to thank Dr. Siman Sen for giving me this opportunity to be a part of this wonderful conference. Now, as we are celebrating the 20 years of strategic partnership between India and Russia, today I will be focusing upon the emerging dynamic strategic relation which is there between India and Russia, followed by their engagement in multilateral forums. Now, it is not the Treaty of Peace and Friendship which marks the beginning of Indian-Russian collaboration, because India-Russia partnership dates back way to 1950s and 1960s, when Moscow and New Delhi started strengthening their multiple mediations through military assistance and development. India and Russia has always been very crucial for each other. Now, the primary reason being that India-Russia never tried to impose their morals on one another. Now, this kind of provides a strong strategic rationale in the bilateral relationship, followed by the developments which have taken place, and also their involvement in the multilateral forums, which has also been mentioned about by the various speakers, like in the BRICS, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, in the East Asian summits. Now, India has always tried to maintain its relationship with Russia, and as it has kind of prevented Russia from depending too much on China, and Russia, on the other hand, has also considered India as a kind of a gateway to establish its strategic foothold in Asia. Now, when we talk about India-Russia strategic cooperation or India-Russia strategic partnership, the first thing that comes to our mind is defense collaborations and military initiatives. Like, if we consider the current scenario, India, who is sidelining more with USA right now, given the bilateral geoeconomic stability, India has also diversified its defense procurements, considering the $3 billion deal. But still now, India counts on Russia for 60% of its defense supplies. Now, the point that I would like to draw here is that it is not only military and defense cooperation that has enabled or strengthened Indian-Russian partnership. Apart from that, there are various other domains and sectors where India-Russia are collaborating and they're moving forward. Now, I would like to highlight about three important major sectors which we usually don't consider or which we usually forget about. Now, the first sector where India and Russia are collaborating is the mining sector. Now, India and Russia are trying to enhance the mining sector through digital technology transfer by incorporating artificial intelligence tools in order to proliferate their business initiatives. Now, to optimize industrial operations and to implement these strategies, Zyfra, which is a Finnish-Russian digital solutions company, has been given the task to undertake the Barwadik coal mining project in Jharkhand, and they are collaborating more to incorporate artificial intelligence tools in order to extract mining and coal extraction, following which they are focusing upon more collaborations. Now, the project is almost 60% underway, and in one of the recent deliberations by the Confederation of Indian Industry, it has been said that a lot of digitized and robotized automation is being used to overcome the challenges of coal extraction, which usually takes place, followed by the various risks from industrial procurements. Also, a wireless communication system has been incorporated following a precision positioning tool for mining transport. Now, this is a very crucial area where both India and Russia are collaborating. Mining is one such sector which we usually don't consider, and therefore India and Russia are proliferating and they're progressing ahead in this sector. So this is a very important and crucial area or arena, which I think is very important to highlight the strategic partnership or collaboration which is there. Now, next comes the information technology sector. Now, at the very outset, I would like to mention that Indian IT companies and Russian IT companies do not cross path usually, the factor being that Russian tech companies always try to give way to the Russian domestic sectors. But given the current scenario, when nations across globe are collapsed almost from this global pandemic, and they are undergoing various risks emanating from different sectors, joint collaborative measures in this information technology area can be a very important move to further strengthen Russia and India collaboration. And it has been taken place, like the Department of Science and Technology launched a 15 crore fund to support India-Russia joint technology assessment and accelerated commercialization program to connect India and Russia research and development ventures. And they're also proliferating more up to strengthen science and technology initiatives. Now, this will not only enhance science and technology initiatives, but it will also leverage resources to develop technologies, scientific technologies, so which will in a way help us to overcome the challenges which we are facing in the new normal scenario. Now, next is the pharmaceutical sector, where again, all nations are focusing upon. Following this coronavirus pandemic, nations are nations are facing a lot of issues. They are trying to incorporate more initiatives to strengthen their pharmaceutical sectors and to build up health infrastructural projects. Now, in the very outset, Russia offered India 3 anti-COVID drugs and have also talked about more trade initiatives following pharmaceutical developments. Now, both countries are focusing upon the manufacturing of the COVID-19 vaccine, which is Sputnik 5, and Indian Embassy in Moscow is in continuous touch with the Gamaleya Institute of Vaccine Development. And the vaccine trial will also take place in India, following other countries namely Brazil, Saudi Arabia, UAE. And therefore, India has the capacity for mass production of vaccine if it comes here, like if it takes place. And therefore, pharmacy is yet another area where India and Russia are collaborating, and there will be more initiatives if it can take place. And I think both these countries will be able to reap a lot of tactical advantages in this particular sector. Now, as in my topic, I have also mentioned about multilateral reciprocity. Now, as we know that both India and Russia are a partner, and they collaborate and participate in various multilateral forums. Now, today itself, our Indian minister went for the Shanghai Cooperation Organization meet, and they will be collaborating on different defense initiatives, and also will be talking about counterterrorism methods. Now, BRICS is another area which is right now under question. The sole reason being that in the recent deliberation of BRICS, India talked about illegal drug trafficking, and India is also trying to highlight the impact of psychosocial substances. Now, BRICS have always been a multilateral forum, a platform through which countries try to negotiate, and countries try to focus upon mutual interests. But the very foundation of multilateral institutions are now under question. The reason being that how they are going to tackle the global problems which are arising in the contemporary scenario. But my observation here is that these multilateral forums, which were created by states in order to fulfill their specific goals and also to reap advantages, focusing upon mutual consent, has not lost its validity. Because the fact... Yes, sir. The fact being that multilateral institutions are there, and they help us to maintain the international flow and cooperation among nations. And therefore, it is very crucial and important for us that though today the power dynamics of across nations are changing, the concept of and the foundations of various problems which are emerging are changing, but multilateral consultations, multilateral institutions will continue to be there, and they will try to sort of leverage these problems. Yes, the only thing which we need to do is change the structure of international cooperation and bring in more popular consultations at the national and subnational level, so as to that these countries can collaborate like India, Russia has been doing. And we hope that the strategic partnership strengthen further ahead. Thank you so much, sir.
Amitabh sir. Hello. Hello.
Hi. Thank you, Shweta. I think now I have a stable connection. I blame it on the internet and in the modern technology which we are adapting ourselves to. I had to restart my computer, then the things have stabilized. But thank you, Shweta. May I now invite the next speaker, next presenter. Just a second. He is Ajay Kumar Samantre, a research scholar from Jawaharlal Nehru University, who will be presenting his paper on India-Russia strategic partnership, problems and prospects. Over to you. You have 10 minutes. Ajay?
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yes.
Am I audible, sir?
Yes, sir.
Yes, you are audible.
Thank you, sir.
We would love to have you visible also.
Yes, sir.
So what is it?
Anyway, I mean, if you have a problem with the bandwidth, you can proceed with your audio presentation. Go ahead. Ajay?
Hello.
Yeah.
So, thank you, sir. Thank you, Eurasian Foundation, for giving me this opportunity. Without wasting any time, I'll proceed. The concept of strategic partnership in international politics came into the forefront only in the 1990s. There are certain conditions or characteristics. We can say that how to define a strategic partnership model. When both the parties share a common and strategically important issues, or both the parties share collective perceptions or objectives to achieve in future as their interests converge with each other. This do not focus only on win-win situations. Sometimes one party has to be ready for some kind of defense. India and Russia have a strong military and defense ties. The cooperation is significant as all-weather friend turned to be a trustworthy supplier of military hardware. And when the time in the 1990s when the Western countries denied India's genuine needs, till today India wants to diversify its defense sector. Still then, almost 70% of India's military demand being fulfilled by Russia. Like Sukhoi 30 MKI, L-78 tanker aircraft, R-77 air-to-air missile system, etc. India went for the procurement of S-400 missile defense system from Russia, despite of US direct or indirect threat to India or warning. Russia always provides robust deals in matters of cost effectiveness, and the signing of Indo-Russian Intergovernmental Commission for Military and Technical Cooperation, which changed the trajectory from just a buyer-seller relationship to a for the development, joint collaboration and cooperation in the sector of defense. Although the IRIGC MTC in the year 1995, it was signed in 1995, which lasted till 2010. Before the deadline, the treaty was subsequently extended till 2020, which resulted in developing hypersonic BrahMos cruise missile, multi-role military transport aircraft, and fifth generation fighter aircraft. They have committed for joint production, sale, and joint modification and improvement of fighter jets. Though India wants After the collapse of the former Soviet Union, the military hardware industry tripled down. India faces problem in accessing spare parts and military parts and difficulty in identifying the production sources in the new Russia. At the point of time, the gap is filled by some other European countries and Israel, USA, etc. Their qualitative military hardware from these countries. Coming to the economic sector, though India and Russia have large economies which are supplementary in nature, the annual rate of growth of both the economies are significant. Hence, there is a huge potential for growth of bilateral trade. However, little has been done to harness this potential. India and Russia are strategic partners and enjoy excellent excellent political relationship. But the bilateral trade does not reflect this strategic partnership, nor does it resembles in the extent of mutual potential. The political and cultural ties is very robust. The political and cultural relationship between India can be traced back to the codification history. This long-standing relationship not only grounded on mutual trust, but a conflict-free and continuous relationship, supporting each other in various international and regional issues. They serve their common interest in various regional and international organizations like G20, SCO Summit, RIC Forum, BRICS, etc. The closeness of Russian and Indian positions on global issues are not accidental. Regular bilateral visits among both the sides, and cooperating in aspects such as disarmament and non-proliferation, property issue, information security, counterterrorism has already been taken place. Coming to the science and technology sector and the issue of terrorism, where both the countries are facing the threats from terrorist active outfit and terrorism. The Kudankulam nuclear power plant with 2 reactors is under construction in Tamil Nadu with Russian technical know-how. In India-Russia civil nuclear cooperation has not been without ups and downs, but still manages to reach its new heights. Russia faced intense hostility from other NSC members, but it stood committed and went ahead with the fuel supply under safety exemption clause. For the sake of India, Russia proposes another kind of membership in the group, associate membership, and proposed India as a candidate. Recently, the Rupur nuclear power project in Bangladesh is the first initiative under Indo-Russian deal to undertake atomic energy project in any third countries. Both India and Russian Federation share a robust relationship in areas of combating terrorism and religious extremism. The struggle against terrorism and other extremists have been a priority task for both of them. They supported the adoption of an international law and decisive measures against states, individuals, or other entities who supports and harbors terrorism. Quickly coming to the way forward, what are the challenges both India and Russia are facing till now? Basically, the problems comes in the area of economic sector. Despite both are emerging, both are economically strong, still then the economic bilateral trade and economic between both the countries are barely $10 billion US dollar, which needs more proactiveness and more better efforts. Whereas India-China bilateral trade stands around $90 billion, and at the same time, Russia-China trade relations is around 110 billion. And other issues, the complex nature of international politics, India's growing proximity with the West, particularly with USA, and at the same time, the new geopolitical calculations brought China, Pakistan, and Russia closer. India is pulling out from the Kavkaz military exercise 2020 amidst the standoff with China and Russia's proximity with China. China's power to Siberia might impact India's ambition and policy of Act Far East. And major potentialities and the opportunities. In the recently held 20th annual summit between India and Russia was a testimony of the special time-tested and privileged strategic partner in the changing world order. The Prime Minister announced 1 billion.
Conclusion now.
Yes, I have 1 minute. The Prime Minister of India, Mr. Narendra Modi, announced 1 billion line of credit for the development of resource-rich Far East. India can help Russia in construction sector, including building affordable housing, installation and repair, waste management, digital technology, healthcare, etc. Russia supported India at the UNSC, making clear that the abrogation of Article 370 was an internal matter of India and it's within the constitutional framework. both India and Russia are determined to forge cooperation in geological exploration, joint development of oil and gas fields, including offshore fields. Constant effort have to be made to carry forward the private economics player of both the countries in order to strengthen the bilateral trade and economic relationship. Ways and means have to be found to diversify each other's export and import basket. State intervention in promoting trade and economic ties is essential. Prudent state intervention combined with the sustained efforts of private sector of both the countries hold the key for the consolidation of trade and economic
Thank
relations.
you, Ajay. Thank you very much for your
Thank you, sir.
presentation. It was interesting, and fortunately or unfortunately, you were the only one whom I can hear through. I mean, for the entire 10 minutes. Blame it on the technology. We take
you, sir.
note of all the participants who presented their papers, and we would have been extremely happy to have it in a live discussion, which we normally have in normal conferences. But may I now invite questions from the participants and the people who are online. I would suggest that you write questions in the group chat so that I can take one by one, and it will be for another 10 odd minutes. So I would like you to type your questions. Anyone who would like to raise hands to start with, rest I can take the questions. We can take the questions. Let the questions be short and very crisp. Anyone? No hands are raised. May I now request Tatiana Shomyanji to intervene if she is willing. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much again, because I already sent what I wanted to say, but to hear all this discussion and presentation which has been done by our colleagues, I think that it is very interesting. It was very interesting, and because our young generation of scholars demonstrated their real interest in studies. From Russian side, it was in the logical studies, and from Indian side, it is, and also the studies of Indo-Russia relations, which, and this gives us the hope that our scientific contacts, our scientific collaboration will continue, because we now hear so many interesting presentations from different parts of India, from Delhi University, from Pondicherry, from, it means that interest to Russian studies is still there. And I think that for us, it is very important. And I would like again to congratulate the organizer of this conference, of this meeting, because, and we have 2 days more, if I'm not mistaken, and I think that we'll have an opportunity to hear again and again the interesting presentations in this meeting. I am very grateful to Mr. Swain, and I am very grateful to Madame Mohanty, because that is, and Mr. Patnaik, and my colleague Sergei Rabey was there, a presentation, he's about the Arctic, in Indo-Russian cooperation in Arctics. And I hope that tomorrow and after tomorrow we'll have the same interest presentation from both sides. Again, thank you very much. Thank you, and my congratulations.
Thank you, Tatiana ji. Any hand raised? Because again, I got disconnected. There was one question by Mr. Sonkar who didn't specifically address it to anyone, to any of the paper presenters. but he was asking about China's aggression in the South China Sea. But I mean, China's and Russia's role towards aggression towards China's aggression in the South China Sea. But I don't think that needs to be addressed in the sense that it was not specifically about Russia's role in South China Sea or Russia-China dispute. Let's avoid it here for the time being. Any other questions from the participants?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, Ajay. Go ahead.
Thank you. I am just want to extend my congratulations to all participants, all speakers, all organizers for doing this nice evening. Our traditional relationship with Indo-Russia is a long back, and I hope this relationship between India and Russia will long last forever. Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Anyone, SD, if you can, you can speak up.
Hello.
And give your full name, please.
Myself, Samrita, sir. Thank you.
You're not audible.
Is it okay, sir? Am I audible?
No, you're not audible. Ask your questions directly to someone. I mean, it cannot be a general question. All of us can't answer all your questions, right? So address it to someone.
Not. That's it. My question is to Monideepa Misri. Hello.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. My question is to Monideepa Misri. Hi, Monideepa. Thank you for your nice presentation on your subaltern. I just want to ask you that your presentation, your topic you have discussed already on prospects of Indo-Russian strategic partnership amid the outbreak of 2020 Indo-China crisis. So my questions, according to your presentation, now how you see that India can't afford to sever all its economic link with the world's second largest economy, even in the digital space. So Chinese finance will help in sustaining India's startup economy. It's all right. Then, however, through Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, India can try to replace Chinese products.
Thank you, Tina. Half of your question was not audible, but if Monideepa Ministry has understood, because I couldn't understand the question.
Okay, so
yeah, thank you so much, Tina. Thank you so much for your question. As far as I can understand your question, regarding the thing is that see, China is a big challenge for India. There is no doubt on that. But as such as my topic is concerned, it's basically on the prospects of India-Russia strategic partnership, right? So,
Ajay, understood half of your presentation. Like,
please do not interject in between. Let her finish, Monideepa. Let Monideepa finish. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, the thing is that see, China is one of the significant investors in case of Russia in Asian region, and it is the most significant trade partners in Russia. But at the same time, we have to keep in mind that India is also a very significant partner for Russia, right? Because India-Russia relationship is not something new, very new. And if there is some, mutual interest is going on between Russia and China, but they are definitely not the allied powers, right? They have their own differences. There are certain points where China is, as we all know, that China is a very smart player. So they are definitely not the allied powers. And on the other hand, we do not have only the defense ties or the economic ties. We have certain cultural connection, and we have a kind of a not totally similar kind of ideologies, but a kind of ideologic like-mindedness. Like Professor Pandey, I have said that the kind of a multipolar world order we want, both India and Russia. So it's true that China is a challenge, but at the same time, India is not like a third party for Russia. India is definitely a significant factor for Russia. So far as I understood your question, because I could not able to hear properly your question because of certain technical issues from your side.
Thank you, Monideepa. I have a question with Sergey, if you are around. Yeah. What are the what are the possibilities of, for India, Arctic seems to be a distant land, and we have also been doing exploration in Antarctica, but nothing tangible has come out of it. Yes, we have made a presence out there, but in the Arctic, which is so contested in terms of the limited space that it has, and there are so many powers which are, ready to grab the space, whatever that they can. How can India figure in that?
Well, at least for now, we're speaking about exploration on the onshore part of Russian Arctic, because offshore projects, yes, there are some, but at the present time, at the time when oil is at $45 per barrel, these projects are absolutely not viable. I mean, drilling offshore. Besides, there are very strict US sanctions which don't allow any companies to cooperate in offshore in the Russian part of the Arctic region. So at present time, we're focusing only on the mainland, and there is all the extraction. All the projects which I listed and which are being planned at the moment, they're all onshore. So it's not a question of division of Arctic. It is the land of Russia for sure.
Thank you, Sergey. I think we have come towards the end of the session. There are no more questions, which needs to be addressed. May I now, as a limited time that we have and the limited time that I was able to be online, comment on the session. It was increasingly, an interesting session especially for the young scholars who were there, and some of the most thought-provoking questions that could have been asked were asked in this session. Especially, I would compliment Sergey, who made an excellent presentation of what I can hear, and to the last two participants, which I was able to hear it completely, Ajay and one more. So the crux of this session would have been that there are potential for India and Russia to come together on many fronts. Those potentials are not being realized due to many factors, geopolitical factors. It can be, changing times that we are into, especially the current challenging times that both India and Russia are in due to COVID. There will be new calculations which will come into place. The geopolitical underpinnings of the relations that India and Russia has, and China, which is now becoming a big player, will have very important role to play in the entire new system or new international arrangement or geopolitical setting that we are now into. So India and Russia's trade potential is there. Russia has been investing constantly after President Putin came into power. One of the biggest investment that came into India was from Russia, and there are ample scope for increasing the cooperation that India and Russia can have. And last but not the least, the political imperative of India-Russia relationship of late has been challenged with the new geopolitical dynamism that we are all facing, especially, India getting closer to America, USA, China and Russia are coming together on many levels and that's also in many ways largely due to Russia's isolation by the Western world, especially due to sanctions. And it's not that China and Russia are natural friends. That's something that's taken as given in India. But if you go to Russia, you will understand that China is seen with suspicion as much as
by Russians as much as by the Indians, right? So we both are suspicious of China's intentions in the region. The problem with India is that we have looked the other way. Russia has been trying to engage with China, which we have been, unfortunately, we have not been able to do, largely because of the Obor problem that we had. But Russia has been able to bypass all those restrictions which were imposed uh, geopolitically by China, and now they are coming together, and we'll see a new world that will emerge post-COVID. Will have China and Russia as closer allies. Lastly, a tribute to Professor Mohanty. You know, Professor Arun Mohanty, when he had joined in 2005, I was leaving the center as research associate. So I went back to Bihar to teach. And when I had joined, incidentally, it was only for 2.5 years that we were together in the center as faculty members. And I shared one paper with him. And there is one very interesting anecdote which I would like all of you to know and share with. You know, Professor Mohanty, one of the best qualities that Professor Mohanty had as a teacher to his student was that he was able to convey with ease, which many of our stiff upper lip intellectuals have, that we don't spell out all those limitations to students. But Professor Mohanty would excellently give all those clues. Especially, I remember one of the incidents in which one of the students asked a question in the class, that was the first class with Professor Mohanty. I had just sat down to see how the class goes. I was new then. He asked questions about Stalin's comment on India, right, as running dog of British imperialism, right? And to all the students, it was, something unique, that how can Stalin say we had been friends with, Russia, but nobody knew that we became friends with Russia or close friends, allies with Russia only after 1955. So, but he gave so many anecdotes, which I would not be able to tell you now, but the anecdotes made a point in the mind of students that you look, what Stalin said was on one off comment, which need not be, taken into consideration when we discuss the entire gamut of India Soviet India relations. And that went down very well with the student, and I was also very impressed. And that was the one lasting impression that he had. Unfortunately, we had very limited interaction, largely because I didn't stay at the campus, and he was actively as a member of the faculty only for 1.5 years when I was there. But I pay humble tribute to him, to the family, especially Mrs. Mohanty, because she has stood with him even after his passing away, and his students have shown the way how you can respect your teachers, how can you emulate your teachers. Thank you, Mrs. Mohanty, for organizing this entire show. I'll be available next day, tomorrow and day after. And thank you, Dr. Sumant Swine, for organizing the entire effort that you have taken. I mean, there are no words to thank you, because right from Russia to India, to the ministers, to the ambassadors, I'm sure you would have had a tough time organizing this. But, technology is a big dampener. It can be a facilitator, but I saw it today because I've never faced this problem. And unfortunately, I've had entire semester taking classes with this, but this was an one-off incident, which I regret. But I hope nobody can be blamed for this. Thank you all. Thanks all the participants. Thank Tatiana ji and Sergey for having been here in 2 different time zones that we are in. But we look forward to have more of your interactions and your presentations tomorrow and day after tomorrow also. Thank you, Sumant. I give it to the organizers if they have any announcement to make. Thank you, Ma'am Mohanty.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Professor Singh. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Professor Amitabh Singh, he has agreed to chair this session. We had the opportunity to listen from the Professor Amitabh Singh when I was in the MPhil and PhD student. He was in the JNU, then shifted to DU. So I could not much interacted after that. Actually, I took so many guidance when I was in the student at the JNU actually. I remember your contributions, sir, so many times, and really you are the authority on this subject. This is the best person to listen regarding this. That's why I prefer Professor Amitabh Singh is the best person to chair this session, and the student will learn many things and will also get some opportunity to listen from you, sir. We are really grateful and honored to you for chairing this session. And thank you so much, sir. Thank you, Tatiana Suman, Professor Suman ma'am, and also Sir Girubai, and all the participants. And see you tomorrow at 4:30. And a very productive session. I will learn many things. And the young minds, young ignite knowledge, everything will contribute definitely. And we are really grateful to all your participations. Definitely we will bring out some publications about these publications of this deliberations, and try to note this brief note also will circulate to all of you, sir. Thank you so much, sir. So nice of you, sir. You have your good time, sir.
Thank you. Bye bye, all of you.